You see someone like me walking down the street. What's your first thought? Most people will think of the nice shoes I have on, or the person that I'm with. But some people will look at my headscarf and think, did her parents force her to wear that? Now, I know what you're thinking. This is good. The person is looking out for the child's relationship with their parents. What if they're being abused at home? What if they're being forced to wear the headscarf? While this may be true, it also sheds light on a different perspective. What if the person in question doesn't believe that a child can make such an important decision, a life-changing decision? But I believe a child is fully capable of doing so. Of course, when children are young, choices can and should be made for them, like, for example, the choice to brush their teeth. That's necessary for their health. Or, for example, the choice to eat candy. I remember when I was younger, my parents would hide the candy in a really big cupboard so that me and my siblings wouldn't be able to reach it. So, in the middle of the night, me and my siblings would go and take some of the candy. Of course, this was an unhealthy decision, as we did it often. But when children are young, they don't have the necessary foresight. But when they get older, they can and should make their own decisions, like what clothes they wear, what food they eat, and whom they make friends with. But they should also make the important decisions, like where they want to live and study, and what careers they want to pursue. When I was in 4th grade, only 9, I made a decision, and I stuck by it through thick and thin. Some people, even members of my family, told me that I couldn't wear a headscarf. Others would ask me if my parents were forcing me to do so. While this may have been a concern for my safety, I realized it's because they didn't think I could make such a decision. I remember one person, after I explained to her that I was wearing the headscarf by my own decision, she looked at me and she said, "You decided to cover your pretty hair? No way. I bet your parents told you to say that." That's when everything clicked into place. Nobody thought my parents were evil or that they were forcing me to wear a headscarf. They just thought that I couldn't make such a decision. Who's to say that I couldn't make such a decision myself? We should be trusting children to develop and discover their interests. They should be able to receive guidance from their parents and schools, but not be forced into a decision. They deserve the right to develop, to learn from their mistakes, and to learn to act and think like adults. Responsibility for what they learn is a great way to do that. Providing them to manage their own time and schedule will allow them to be more responsible and ready for the workplace. So, how can parents give guidance to their children while maintaining their child's autonomy? Kelly Miller, Jessica Borelli, and Gaila Morgulin attempted to answer this question in their study titled "How Attunement Moderates the Link Between Parental Overcontrol and Adolescent Adjustment." They came to the conclusion that there are 3 different types of parents: parental overcontrol, parental low overcontrol, and attunement. First, let's define what overcontrol is. Overcontrol is dominantly restricting child autonomy, like what to do, how to think, and how to feel. The child will respond to this in 2 different ways. Some children will act out, impulsively taking any chance they can to make their own decisions. For example, driving unsafely when their parents aren't around, or shoplifting. Other children will act in, thinking that the world is unsafe and that they're incompetent to deal with it. Not only does this make the child feel unimportant, but it also increases their chance of involving themselves in self-destructive behaviors. Now, as I said earlier, the study discusses 3 different types of parents. The first is high parental overcontrol. This means the parent doesn't understand their child's thoughts, behaviors, or desires. They also exert overcontrol frequently. This means the child has a higher chance of involving themselves in risky behaviors and puts their mental health at complete jeopardy. They put themselves at risk of many mental disorders. Second, we have low parental overcontrol. This means the parent exerts low doses of overcontrol infrequently. This is better than the first situation for the child, but still not what we want, as it does put the child at some risks of mental disorders. Finally, we have the best option for the child's mental health, something I hope all parents strive for, and it's having an attuned parent. When you have an attuned parent, it means the parent understands your thoughts, behaviors, and desires. It's even better if the child, if you will, is on the same wavelength as their parent, because this can drastically change how they interpret over control. So, what does this have to do with me? And what does this have to do with you? In Islam, once a woman becomes of age, she should try to wear the headscarf. I remember always being fascinated by my mom, going out in New York City, wearing her headscarf, not caring what anyone said if they tried to put her down, and always looking her best, and always being there for any member of our community who was having their own struggles. So, one day when I was in 4th grade, being the weird kid that I was, I took one of her headscarves, put it on, and said, "I'm going out like this." So that's how it went. That's how I started to wear my headscarf. But one thing that I wasn't interpreting, or that I wasn't thinking about, was the backlash that I received. I thought I was going to walk into school and everybody would be accepting me with open arms. But that wasn't the case. Sure, my parents and my teachers were all supportive, and some of my friends who understood what I was going through. But some of the friends that I'd been friends with for years turned their shoulders and pretended like they didn't know who I was. They didn't talk to me, and soon enough, I stopped talking to them. I remember walking down the street and people giving me looks as though they were appraising me and judging my every move. My headscarf became a sign screaming, "Danger, stay away," instead of a sign saying, "Dignity." And this is when having an attuned parent really matters. My mom had gone through the same experience when she was younger, and she completely understood what I was going through. So instead of telling me to take off my headscarf, or even worse, forcing me to do so, she stood by my decision and told me that I could do it. She helped me, and I really believe that the environment that I was nurtured in helped make this decision easier. Okay, now that we have some proof, if you would like to consider me that, how do we apply? And what does this have to do with you? There are currently 2 billion children between the ages of 0 and 16. And seeing that there are 7 billion children on this earth, the chances of you not seeing a child are highly unlikely. You will also have to interact with these children, some as teachers, others as parents, and others as aunts and uncles. So now, how do we apply? Change takes time. And with things like this, it's really hard to find the best balance, the just right. We need to learn to treat children the right way. If we treat them too harshly, they will grow up to be harsh with the people they are with. And we will put their mental health, as we said before, at risk. But if all decisions are made for the child, then once they get thrown into adulthood, they will be completely lost. We live in a time with a lot of problems, and we only hope that the younger generation will be able to fix them. So we must train them to learn, to act, and think like adults. So when they get older, when this incredible weight of all the problems that we have in this world will be placed onto their shoulders, they know how to deal with it. So just like the people who told me that I could make a decision and inspired me to do so, I invite you to strike your match, light your own fire, and change the way you see children. And let that perspective change the way you see the world. Thank you.